What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, practicing social distancing, and ready for another week of the off season. It's the second half of May, kind of hard to believe, and obviously time has tended to sort of stand still and blur together in these times that we're in. But amazingly, June is next month, and this is kind of the slowest part of the off season for the NFL. We're starting to see a lot of things start to trickle down. Free agency is well in the rearview mirror. The draft already well behind us. And so now things are starting to kind of sit. And there's one thing waiting for the Dallas Cowboys. We all know that, in the Dak Prescott contract. And we'll see what happens either before or right up until July 15th. But things are kind of what they're going to be, and we all obviously hope that football is going to be played this fall, and there's a lot of questions about that, but for now we know the Cowboys season begins on September 13th against the Los Angeles Rams. And I've been thinking, because summer's coming, everybody works on that summer body, and my wife, she told me something a long time ago. She said, something you never regret is working out, right? You never regret a workout. You never are sitting at the end of your day and say, man, I wish I hadn't worked out. No, at the end of a workout, you're always like, man, that did not disappoint me one single bit. And that got me thinking, everybody loves to talk about the best position groups and things like that on the Cowboys, year in and year out. But I was thinking, what is the least likely to disappoint us? In the way that a workout is very unlikely to disappoint you. And I wonder, who do you think? What position group is the least likely to disappoint in terms of expectations for the 2020 Dallas Cowboys? I think that there are three that jump to mind for me. And I think third is probably the running back position as a whole. Because if you think about it, Zeke Elliott is going to be Zeke, right? Zeke's going to run the ball a million times. He's going to have 1,000,000 yards, and things are going to be great on the ground. If the Cowboys get more out of Tony Pollard in 2020, then, well, hey, that's, all of a sudden that running back position that was already an A+ becomes even greater. And so if Tony Pollard is something in Mike McCarthy's offense, with Kellen Moore obviously commanding it, I think that position as a group, just your running back overall group, might be really special. And so that one is kind of a special outlier. There are two sort of position groups that I think are very, very, very unlikely to disappoint us, and they're the offensive line and the receiver group. Now, obviously, the Cowboys' offensive line has been the strongest point of the team for some time now. However, we have to accept a lot of realities. Number one, that Travis Frederick obviously retired this offseason, and so he is gone. Number two is that this offensive line is older. Tyron Smith's probably going to miss a couple of games. That's the way things work. We really don't know exactly how Connor Williams is going to be at left guard again this season. He was coming on strong before he got hurt last year. Who is going to be the starting center in lieu of Travis Frederick? Will it be Joe Looney, who did play for him in 2018? Will it be Connor McGovern? Will it be Tyler Biadasz, the rookie the Cowboys drafted in the 4th round? There are a lot of questions there, and so it would make sense if you told me, if we fast forwarded to the end of the season, that the Cowboys offensive line was not that great, and I'm talking about their standards, I would believe that, because there are reasons to understand that. And so I think the floor for the Cowboys offensive line, it's been so high in years past. The absolute bare minimum for them has been better than most. I think that the floor has lowered, and I think that they're still among the very best offensive lines in the NFL, but time has caught up to them. Life has caught up to them. Obviously, retirement has now hit them, and so they are officially, I think the second group that would be very, very, very unlikely to disappoint us. And I think that the most unlikely group to disappoint us is probably the Cowboys wide receivers, because you look at it, the Cowboys have one of the, what does Amari Cooper do? Amari Cooper is like the 7th or 8th best wide receiver in the NFL. So that's the star wide receiver on the Cowboys team. Michael Gallup, if we ranked number 2 receivers in the NFL, if you went and you did all of the Robins across NFL wide receiver pairs, Michael Gallup ranks where? I think Chris Godwin's probably the best complementary wide receiver in the NFL. Obviously, the Robin to Mike Evans is Batman. Who's after him? Maybe now, if you want to call Emmanuel Sanders now with the New Orleans Saints, maybe that's one answer. But I think Michael Gallup is among the very best number 2 wide receivers in the NFL. And then your slot receiver, if you want to call him that, CeeDee Lamb. If you're talking about those, CeeDee Lamb right now, and I don't mean this the exact way it sounds, but he is the worst receiver when the Dallas Cowboys are in 11 personnel. And that is some pretty amazing truth that CeeDee Lamb is the worst receiver on the Cowboys in 11 personnel. And so for that reason, I think that the floor is just the highest when it comes to the Cowboys wide receiver group. I think that that unit as a whole, we really are not totally certain who's going to be the fourth or fifth receivers for the team this season. Maybe it's going to be Devin Smith, maybe it's going to be Cedric Wilson, but overall, this is going to be a group that's carried by their top three guys. The floor for them, I think, is just so much higher than it is even for the offensive line that has better individual players in Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. I think that the Cowboys wide receivers are probably the group that, if you told me if this group did not do something spectacular in 2020, and I don't mean spectacular like each have 1,000 yards or each catch double-digit touchdowns, things like that, but if this group was not the main reason for the Cowboys offense humming along week in and week out, I would be kind of shocked. If you told me that this group disappointed you, if we fast-forwarded and you came back from the future, best movie of all time, by the way, that the Cowboys wide receivers really weren't that special, I would be stunned, because I think the expectation with a wide receiver, especially when you look at the financial commitments, a wide receiver in Amari Cooper that's now getting $20 million per season, a first-round draft pick in CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup, who is really ascending. If they were not very, very, very good, it would be a little bit shocking. And so that's why I think that the Cowboys wide receivers are the least likely to disappoint us throughout the 2020 season. But, it's going to be fun, certainly. Hopefully nobody disappoints us. In fact, we will look at the most likely to disappoint us soon enough. I think defensive line could be up there. I think linebacker could be up there. That's an interesting subject to tackle, which we will do so coming up soon. So make sure you do subscribe to the official Blogging the Boys YouTube channel right where you are. You get videos all the time, breakdowns, discussions, film reviews, all that jazz. Speaking of the jazz, not a fun time for Utah Jazz fans with The Last Dance wrapping up. But make sure you do subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed as well. You get at least 2 podcast episodes every single day. We're available on all major podcast platforms. That's Apple devices, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, and all the rest. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at RJ Ochoa. And make sure you check out bloggingtheboys.com for the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. Oh, and one more thing. Make sure you have the best day ever. You know why? Because you deserve it. We'll see you next time.